Warning: the following video contains spoilers for .hack infection. Viewer discretion is advised. The 90s and early 2000s is what I would consider to be the golden age of video games. Sega, in an unfortunate last hurrah in the console market, released the Dreamcast in 1998 in Japan and 1999 in the West, a console that in retrospect was way ahead of its time. It had one feature in particular that made it stand out as innovative beyond its years: a built-in modular modem for internet access and online play. This gave developers the potential, if they wanted to make online games for a console, something that was previously available only for PC games. And that is exactly what happened. In December of 2000, Sega released Phantasy Star Online, a game that, while not exactly a commercial blockbuster at the time, was definitely something real special, particularly to console players that had never been able to play online games before. Also, the early commercials for it were kinda crazy. I'll just let it speak for itself.
The whole world, communication, collaboration, fighting, light, darkness, internet, a new world.
In the year 2000, Sega announced that it would, within the year, create a new world, in that virtual world, the internet, and draw the front line of network gaming for the whole world.
As for myself, while I did have Phantasy Star Online, I was only able to play it offline. At the time, I didn't really have very good internet, neither of my parents were very tech savvy, and I was still a kid. The internet and how it worked was still a bit of a mystery to me. However, despite me playing this by my lonesome, it never stopped me from wondering just what would playing this so-called online game with other people across the world would be like. It was, in some ways, my first taste of what an MMO was, if only in my imagination. A few years later, in November of 2004, a little game called World of Warcraft released to universal acclaim. It was all anyone talked about, and it was all I wanted to play. That, however, was not meant to be at the time for two reasons. First, while my family did have broadband, we were restricted to a hard monthly cap of 100 megabytes. Every megabyte past it was charged individually, which sometimes led to bills that were easily double the norm just for exceeding that threshold by 15 or 20 megabytes. Second, the monthly subscription. There was no way I would be able to convince my dad to pay $15 a month for a game. It was then that I found the next best thing. Somewhere in the corner of a video game store, I found a single game. A game that was an MMO but wasn't. One I could play offline while still feeling like I was online along with hundreds of other players. That yearning that began with PSO and was unfulfilled when WoW released would be fed at last. But how did a game like this even exist? How did someone look at the MMO landscape and decide to build this? Let me back up. Just a few months prior to the release of Phantasy Star Online, Sony released the PS2 in Japan to overwhelming success. And while not initially supported, with the release of the network adapter in 2001, this feature once again allowed developers to create games with online functionality. This leads us to May 2002 and the release of Final Fantasy XI in Japan. Now, this was a blockbuster, and the game that cemented the exciting idea of MMOs in the country. It's not that there weren't MMOs before it. EverQuest and Ultima Online were also a thing in Japan, but their popularity was significantly less than that in the West, mainly due to language barriers, difficulty just getting the damn things, and on top of it all, you had to play them on PC, a historically unpopular platform in the country until the last decade or so. All of this meant that only a small group of enthusiasts over there ever really played them. Regardless, Final Fantasy XI was a cultural phenomenon. It completely sold out at many major retailers across the country on its release day, despite relatively low-key marketing and high barriers of entry. You needed not just your PS2, but also a hard drive, a network adapter, and a stable internet connection. This speaks to the excitement around the game and the beginning of what would become one of the most profitable titles in the franchise. Needless to say, MMOs were here to stay. Now, while the success of Final Fantasy XI was setting a new bar for online connectivity, the landscape was already home to a vastly different experiment. This brings us back to that mystery game I found. Released just a few months later, the first entry of an ambitious, multimedia project arrived to show that you didn't actually need to be online to feel like you were playing an MMO. That game was .hack Infection. The game was developed by CyberConnect 2, a studio founded back in 1996 by a bunch of young devs who were barely out of college. We're talking about people in their 20s, just as hungry and ambitious as you'd expect. And even back then, they had a pretty clear vision. They wanted to make games that could, in their own words, shock and surprise people. They weren't interested in playing it safe. Led by Hiroshi Matsuyama, who took over as CEO after a rough patch with their first couple games, Tail Concerto and Silent Bomber, the small team of like 10 people basically bet everything on .hack. Their two previous games were not exactly blockbusters, and they were hungry for something that would actually hit. And here's the thing. Remember when I said that EverQuest and Ultima Online were only played by a few enthusiasts over in Japan? Well, these guys were among them, MMORPG fans themselves. And that's when it hit them. They asked themselves a question that would end up defining the next few years of their lives. What if we built our own fictional MMO from scratch? Not a real one that you log into and grind with actual other players, but one that looked, felt, and operated exactly like one. Except it was all a story. A single-player experience designed to feel like multiplayer. And what if this fictional MMO had something of a dark side to it? Something hidden, deep underneath, blurring the lines between the online and offline world. And here's what really gets me about this whole thing. They pulled it off in just about 2 years. That's honestly kinda insane. They pulled off a multimedia universe that started with the simultaneous development of an anime series, .hack Sign, a series of OVAs included with each of the games called .hack Liminality, and the 4 .hack games themselves, which released with around a 3-month gap between each. It was like nothing Japan had ever seen before, and it's still pretty unique to this day. The ambition to build something unconventional and new in terms of presentation, while keeping it emotionally resonant via its story and multimedia branching. That's what made .hack special. I, however, wouldn't take my first step into the series until a few years after its release, and in the end, I could only ever play the first game. I remember scouring old stores I had in my area trying to find any of the sequels, but I never did. It was only the announcement of a new .hack project, Hack Zero, that inspired me to revisit the original series and finally play all 4 games, beginning to end. As I play them, I want to revisit a lingering thought from all those years ago, when I finished the first game and all I could do was imagine what happened after. A question, years before it was made popular by more prominent franchises, that I feel might be at the core of the .hack series. What if an MMO was more than just a game? So you boot up the game and right away you're hit with this opening movie. It's really quite something, so I'll play it for you. It's a little all over the place in a good way. The audio switch-ups, particularly the transitions to melodic piano, kinda do it for me. Starting a new game brings you to a cutscene where something called the Epitaph of Twilight is read, in German. It narrates what seems to be a legend or a prophecy. It talks about a Queen of the Dark, Helba, and a King of Light, Apeiron, coming together to fight an abominable wave.
Okay, user registration is done. Now for a name.
After the mysterious poem, we proceed to name our character in a sort of meta way. We are registering for the world, the in-game bestseller MMO. We define our username and, most importantly, our character name, Kite. Kite mentions that
Yasuhiko's probably already there waiting for me. I'd better hurry.
then the game drops you in what they call the Ultimate OS. And I swear, if there's one thing I vividly remember about this game is the Ultimate OS. It's literally a desktop interface inside the game. You've got your email, your news, you can change wallpapers, listen to music, save the game, and most importantly, open the world. Opening it takes you to the login page, where you've got message boards where players are posting about skills, trading items, asking about combat tips, and it's also authentic. It feels like an actual MMO community. Now, our character, Kite, gets an email from Yasuhiko saying he'll be waiting at Root Town. So we log in into the world for the first time. We respond in Mak Anu, meaning the son of a goddess, our first Root Town. Yasuhiko, or rather Orca, greets us as we log in. The world has lots of Gaelic influences and Orca seems to be playing into it. I mean, he literally looks like William Wallace from Braveheart. Orca teaches us how to form a party and how to use keywords, the latter being how you access field areas and, by extension, dungeons, the main way to adventure in the world. In essence, you have a server, Delta in our case, that determines the minimum and maximum enemy level you can potentially encounter, followed by 3 keywords you pick, each having an effect on the place you are going to visit, from the average enemy level to the dungeon length, the number of enemies, field type, but more on that later. For now, we go to Delta Bursting Passed Over Aquafield, where we get some additional tutorials on how to work the camera, how to read the map, how to encounter enemies and fight. It's at this point it kinda hit me, but this doesn't feel like a traditional tutorial, even though it is. It feels like an actual MMO veteran showing a noob the ropes. No pop-up prompts like press X to attack. It's all disguised as your friend just telling you how the game works. It's a quite clever way of handling things and sells you the idea you're playing a game within a game. Another cool thing is, Orca is kind of a beast. He's level 50 while we're only level 1. He's one-shotting enemies left and right, hitting them for 5,000 damage while we hit things for around 9. Kind of reminiscent of an actual MMO, being carried by your high-level friend. You can even look at his stats and equipment, all super high-level stuff. It's really neat. Once we enter the dungeon with Orca, we see a ghost girl being chased by an unusual monster. Orca comments on how weird it is to see a monster like that on such a low-level area. Eventually we get to the bottom of the dungeon and find this dungeon's treasure, which is found in a statue room. We take it and, just as we're about to walk our way back to the entrance, we are suddenly transported to a strange area. Here we meet the ghost girl from earlier. She is clearly not a player character. She gives Orca a book, telling him,
Take this.
Huh?
Please take this. There's no time. Please.
What's this?
A great force. The power it holds can bring forth either salvation or destruction at the whim of the user.
You're...
Then the weird monster that was chasing her shows up, just as she disappears. Orca tells us to run as he tries to fight the monster, but nothing seems to be working. And then, well, see for yourself.
this way. I'm sorry. Get out of here!
Just as we're about to suffer the same fate, a strange staff cleaves the ground and we are teleported elsewhere. The screen flashes with a red system error message, and we see the strange book float into an unconscious Kite, as a blonde lady watches over us. We then get a narration from Kite.
What was wrong with Yasuhiko? Why was he upset? I wanted to ask him, but he wouldn't even pick up the phone. And then, the next day, I found out that Yasuhiko had been hospitalized. I rushed to the hospital, but they wouldn't even let me see him. But I guess it's better this way. I didn't want to see him all week, and he wouldn't want that either. But what the hell happened to him? I have a feeling that the key to it is somewhere in the world.
We transition back to the Ultimate OS desktop. The music is back and everything looks normal. There's a single email in our inbox. Server problems that are limiting play to Delta and Theta servers. We tried to log in, but all services are currently unavailable due to maintenance. We head to the message board and Kai says he'll post about Yasuhiko. Maybe someone will respond. And then we watch him type it letter by letter in real time. Subject: help. My friend is in a coma after playing this game. He's hospitalized and still isn't out yet. But do these things actually happen? Does anyone know the reason? Anyone know someone else in the same state? How can I get him out of the coma? The people who made the game look here too, right? Please, give me some information. Thank you. We go back to the desktop. There's a new email, but the name and picture of the sender are hard to make out. We open it. Most of it's unreadable, but buried in the noise we see words here and there. Book, and at the very end, please help me. I can't help but sit here for a bit to try and take everything that's happened. There's this feeling, this heaviness that doesn't quite lift. We just watched our friend get put into a coma by something. We don't know what it was, we don't know why. Now we're sitting in front of a screen with a bunch of symbols we can't make heads or tails of. And there's no answers. Not here, not anywhere. It's a strong series of events that really do set the tone for this first introduction to the game. With no more leads, we decide to log in again.
What is it? You got something to say?
No.
Oh, I get it now. You are a newbie, aren't you? I might have guessed. Well, are you or not? Come on now, don't be shy. You can tell me. Listen, in case you're not aware of it, you're being very rude. It's impolite to stare at someone like that. You have to understand it's the same as the real world. Don't you get it? Ugh. Last chance. What is up with you anyway, huh? Come on, will you say something already?
God damn, she has no fucking chill. Also kinda impressive Kind went through that entire conversation by saying a single word. Now, this is the first real chance we get to explore Mak Anu, the root town. There's a very relaxing vibe to it. It's a small town, reminiscent of Venice, with just a few shops lying around, split in the middle by a canal and a bridge joining both ends. Soothing music, the sound of the water flowing by with that perfect golden hour lighting. All around 10 out of 10 for atmosphere. We also see a bunch of other players just hanging out and running about, all with unique names. We can talk to them to get a little bit of dialogue, revealing a little bit of their personality. We can also trade with them, but more on that later. As we approach the Chaos Gate to leave,
Wait a sec! Yeah, you! I know some interesting keywords. If you go with me, I'll tell you what they are. Do you want to know? Right on! That's the spirit! Spoken like a true newbie. The keywords are Delta, Hidden, Forbidden, Holy Ground.
you know, I don't think I remember most things about this game, but I definitely remember the keywords Hidden, Forbidden, Holy Ground. Anyway, I tried to live without Black Rose, but
What are you doing? You have to add me to your party.
of note, if you try to invite Orca, it just says, there is no response to the flash mail. Player is absent from the world. Damn.
Whoa, this place is...
Huh?
Never mind, let's go. Well, are you going to escort me like a proper gentleman?
Hidden, Forbidden, Holy Ground looks nothing like the previous dungeon. We find ourselves outside a gigantic cathedral, which Black Rose seems to recognize. Angelic music starts playing as we approach the entrance. It's genuinely beautiful and maybe just a little eerie at the same time. Once we go inside,
What is that thing? Stay back! Oh no! So that's it. Pretty weak, huh? What do you know? You didn't even need my help at all, did you?
anyway, we find a giant statue of a girl chained up as Kite reads a list of names.
Skaith, Enos, Magus. I can't read anything else. The inscription is faded.
By the way,
Hmm?
I guess you can tell that I'm a newbie too.
Black Rose apologizes for treating us like a newbie, admitting she is one herself. Then, just as she's about to tell us what she's trying to find here, an angel-looking guy enters the church and Black Rose is immediately aggro.
Hey, what are you doing?
What? What about you, huh?
The guy yells it's dangerous here, and then things get a little weird. I'll just play the cutscene for you.
Leave here at once. This one as well.
But how? Tell me what's going on here. That thing should have been dead. Why is it glowing like that? It's so freaky. Is this for real?
It's a bug from a computer virus. The virus is rewriting the data. It has a hit point that's infinite.
This is the one.
You must escape while I buy some time.
Because of this thing, I'll kill you!
No! You can't kill it! Leave it be or you'll be killed!
The book. Open the book.
The book?
The power it holds can bring forth either salvation or destruction at the whim of the user.
That was like the time when Orca...
In an ironic twist of fate, we see Kite use the exact same attack that put Orca in a coma. As we'll learn later, this is called data drain. The animation is really cool. You see Kite reach out. This multicolored digital energy flows from Kite to the monster, turning into purple crystals that flow back into Kite. We get a virus core and give the enemy finite HP, allowing Balmung to finish it off. Now, however, he's looking at Kite very differently. He says Kite is the same as the virus, and that he's at fault for the various damages these viruses have recently caused within the world. Interesting. Blackrose snaps back at him, with Balmung responding he does not trust us and walking away.
That was rather childish for Balmung of the Azure Sky, the descendant of Fianna.
I do not speak with hackers.
That boy, he's a friend of your partner.
Orca?
Back at the church, Kite tells Blackrose about hearing the ghost girl's voice. He wonders just what is it she wanted Orca to do when she gave him the book. What is he supposed to do with his new power?
All I want to do is help Orca.
Well, I've gotta go. Today was, I don't know what to say, but... Good night.
Now, everything I've shown you so far happens within the first hour of the game, and at this point all major hooks are in place. Why did Orca fall into a coma? Just what is the world and what is it hiding? Who is this mysterious hacker Helba and why did she help us? Who is the ghost girl and why did she give the Book of Twilight to Orca? Who is the monster looking for the girl and what does it want with her? What is data drain and what are we supposed to do now? We log out for now and find that Kite's post about Orca's coma on the message board has been deleted. Someone doesn't want people talking about this. We get an email from Blackrose confirming she believes us. The story about Orca's coma is a little bit out there, which makes me wonder why she would trust us from the get-go. Then Helba herself reaches out. She explains what data drain is, the ability we used on the infected enemy, and tells Kite he's now in the eye of the storm, as the one who bears the bracelet, which you might have missed during the previous cutscene, but it's this crazy looking thing. And that everyone will be watching. I'm sure Kite is very excited about this. We log back in and overhear a couple of guys talking about someone looking like a cat.
I saw a strange character in the alley. It looked like a cat. Is it possible to edit like that?
A cat? Oh yeah, I saw it too. I prefer bunny girls though.
Hearing this, we head towards the alley and meet Mia and Elk. Mia is a strange one. She's a cat girl, which is apparently not a supported character model, and she can see Kite's bracelet, which is invisible to everyone else, including ourselves. They walk away and Elk gives us the stink eye. We check the message board one more time before logging out, and there's a new post. Someone claims they saw a white ghost girl with long hair in Delta, expansive haunted sea of sand. They also say the game music stopped when they saw her. Creepy. We take note of the keywords and, instead of going there immediately, we check out another set of keywords that lead to a beginner-friendly area to grind a few levels and get some items. This is a good chance to talk about the dungeon system. All dungeons are accessed via the Chaos Gate, located in any of the root towns by selecting 3 keywords. As mentioned before, these affect everything from average enemy level to the weather, time of day, type of field, type of dungeon, element, you name it. While the story will give you a specific trio of words for the story dungeons, you can also use a list of predetermined keywords to create custom dungeons yourself. Considering there's a ton of keywords you can use for each of the 3 slots, the number of dungeons are basically endless. Now, this would be the time where I give you an in-depth explanation of how the keyword system works, but honestly, I have no idea what any of it means. You pick 3 keywords and get a table with a bunch of colored lights, that's it. No numbers, no explanations, just colors, and what do they mean? Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, just look at this. Now, which would you rather have? The one that has a red gem in monsters and a red gem in items? In the second column, mind you. Or would you rather have the one that has a red gem in weather and red gem in ground level in the first column and a red gem in the second column of magic portals? Okay, that one was maybe a little bit too hard. So let's look at this one. Which would you rather have? The one that has a red, green, and blue gems in the dungeon row, or the one that has a red, blue, green gems in the dungeon row? Now this one, you'll only know if you're a man of culture. All jokes aside, at the end of the day, the one thing that I was looking for whenever I actually played around with the system was the battle level and the element. That's it. Maybe in future games I'll play around with the system a little bit more to see if I can get a better grasp of it, but for now, this is good enough. Anyways, the field leading to the beginner dungeon is a desert in the afternoon. Giant structures, skeletons, pyramids, dead worms, giant cacti, everything you would expect from the archetypical desert level. But here's the twist. To enter the actual dungeon, you walk into the gaping mouth of a giant dead monster. And inside, everything is organic, squishy, wet. You're literally walking inside the belly of a beast. Kinda like going inside Jabu Jabu in Ocarina of Time. And to top it all off, as you explore the dungeon outside of battle, this is all you hear. I like it. In general, dungeon variety in the game is just right considering the length of it. You've got your typical lava fields with steam everywhere, snowy areas with this eerie, soft music that hints at something ominous, your typical green grasslands, and forests that are structured more like traditional dungeons with area transitions. Each biome is then, in turn, associated to a particular element. Deserts and lava fields to fire, tundras to water, so on and so forth. You also have different times of day: daytime, afternoon, and nighttime. This is all decided by the keywords you use when playing around in the Chaos Gate. Like I said, the time of day and biome combinations are just enough to make fields not feel too repetitive in terms of presentation. And then there's dungeon entrances. You have the vanilla set of stone stairs and doors to giant towers, but also more interesting ones like the opening in a giant seashell, openings in volcanic rock, the mouth of a gigantic plant-like monster, and here's the craziest one: the head of a bald dude with red skin, half buried in the ground, mouth open, giant hands also half buried with fingers moving wildly. Looks exactly like a behelit from Berserk. As for combat, it's relatively simple. You have a basic attack you can spam as much as you want, and then you have skills. While skills are different for each character class, more on that later, they don't come from leveling up, they come from the equipment you wear. This means that looking at equipment stats isn't all that matters. Switch from a weapon that has slightly better stats but worse skills in the particular type of enemy you're fighting, and you'll be worse off. And what are these War's abilities? Well, to keep it simple, enemies can have an elemental type, and each elemental type has an opposite. Fire and water, earth and wood, thunder and darkness. If you want to make quick work of an enemy, you want to use an ability of its opposite element. And by quick work, I really do mean quick work. We're talking about killing an enemy in the 5 seconds it takes to use a single skill versus upwards of 25 plus seconds of using non-super effective skills, normal attacks, and just chasing around for the enemy in general. This is especially true if the enemy happens to be one of the extremely annoying, quick as fuck mages, but more on that later. All you need to know is that you'll eventually want to keep a few different weapons with different elemental affinities and skills to deal with the situations as they come. Before moving on, there's one thing you've probably noticed by now. Party members have chat bubbles pop up over their heads. These messages appear contextually to reflect your party's current state. Some show up when they're low on HP, some when they have a status ailment, and sometimes just when walking around. Each character has their own personality, and it's very clearly reflected in their speech when adventuring in dungeons. One character might panic when poisoned, typing in all caps begging for a cure mid-battle. Black Rose, meanwhile, gets hit with poison and snaps. When you level up, your party members congratulate you a la ding and grats etiquette in WoW or other MMOs. It's a small touch, but it's one of many details that both sells the MMO feel and gives each character a chance to show off their personality. My only complaint is that they really do repeat a lot. It'd be nice to see a little bit more variety in future games, but we'll see. Going back to our beginner dungeon, we make it to the bottom, take our well-deserved loot, and go back to town. Once there, we do what will become routine for the rest of the game. We look for the best equipment we can get via trading. And trading in this game is genuinely cool. You're not just buying from a static shop, you're bartering with other players. I was level 6 and managed to grab equipment of item level 22. It's just cool you can do stuff like this. You can also gift items to your party members, and if it's better than what they've got, they equip it themselves. It reinforces the idea that they are their own people, and that the only character you have any direct control over is Kite. Armed with better gear, we head to Delta, expansive haunted sea of sand, the rumored sighting of the Ghost Girl.
I came after reading the board, but the operator turned me back. I guess we can't play here.
The zone itself is a little off. Numbers and letters float randomly across your screen, like you're seeing the actual code bleeding through. The skybox and walls of the dungeon are eroded, showing glimpses of something underneath, the seams of the game. An NPC at the entrance of the dungeon even warns us, "This area is unstable, please leave." Obviously we ignore it. This infected area is a good segue to talk about data drain, one of the game's core mechanics. As you fight enemies and their health goes down below a certain threshold, a green sphere will surround them with the words "Protect Break." At this point, you can data drain them and extract either a piece of equipment or a virus core, the latter being essential to a mechanic that will be introduced later. All enemies have different equipment you can get from draining them, some of it being quite strong and unobtainable from any other source. After being data drained, the enemy is transformed into a level 1 enemy that just runs around really fast and dies in a single hit. There's multiple variants of this level 1 enemy depending on the enemy type. There are, however, 2 drawbacks to data drain. First, the enemy transforms into a level 1 enemy after being drained, which means you get almost no experience for the kill. Second, the more enemies you data drain, the more infected Kite becomes, represented by Kite's color in this picture, going from blue to green, yellow, orange, and finally red. Higher infection levels can lead to some good but mostly bad side effects. These range from temporary debuffs like accuracy down or attack down, all the way to losing an entire level or even getting a game over if you reach 100% infection rate. The only way to reduce your infection rate is to kill enemies normally, without data draining them. This mechanic sounds pretty scary, but at least in this game I never really had problems with it. The only reason I know some of the more terrible side effects is because I looked them up for this video. In my own experience, I only ever got simple debuffs and my infection rate never went higher than a slight green. And one more neat detail. As we data drain more and more enemies, at times we'll get a notification that the bracelet is shining, rewarding us with something called Ryu books. These are basically an in-game achievement system that tracks your playtime, dungeons cleared, treasures found. As you reach certain milestones, you unlock extra wallpapers, music, and movies you can watch back in your ultimate desktop. Little rewards for being a completionist. Back in the infected zone, we reach the bottom floor and find the door with purple flames. This means the next room has a boss encounter. There, we find our second infected enemy, the same that attacked us back in the church, but now we have to fight it ourselves. It has infinite HP, represented by a bunch of gibberish where the HP number should be. After inflicting enough damage, we can data drain it to make its glitchy HP go back to normal, finally taking it down. Once we do though, a girl pops up, Mistral. She's just take a look.
Wow! Cool! I can't believe you defeated the monster by rewriting its data! How did you do that? Oh! Did I hit a nerve? Should I keep my mouth shut? I came because I read a post about it on the board and it sounded interesting. But this place looks so weird. Even if the data is corrupted, it's too weird. Well, anyway, it seems strange things have been happening everywhere in the world. Ever since the server failure, it's all going downhill. There's something going on. What? Oh, damn it! I burned dinner. Oh well, gotta go. Oh, I almost forgot. Invite me to your party next time. Let's do this again, Kay?
She's very peppy, using emojis in every other sentence. She also seems like a little bit of an airhead. Also, here's a neat detail. Notice how Mistral turns around looking at nothing before she says she burned dinner? Well, since the world is played in VR, the implication is that she took off her VR glasses to look at her IRL kitchen. Just another small detail that sells the game's immersion. Back in town, we...
Ye of fair eyes!
Huh?
I trust your eyes. I have a favor to ask. A player I know is being harassed by a wicked monster in Delta Indiscreet Gluttonous Pilgrimage. I will vanquish the wicked monster, and I want you to bear witness. You will do that for me? You will? I knew you would say that! I will be waiting for you at Delta Indiscreet...
Indeed. Now, this might be a good time as any to talk about a detail you've probably noticed by now. The voice acting. The game does a good job for the most part, and it's reminiscent of anime dubs of the time with overly exaggerated delivery that comes off as endearing and familiar. So I went ahead and checked whose voices are in this game and holy shit. The cast is way more stacked than you'd expect from an early 2000s PS2 game. You have Wendy Lee, the voice of Black Rose, who also voiced Faye Valentine in Cowboy Bebop and Bulma in Dragon Ball. Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, Helba, is Motoko Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell. Carrick Thornton, Orca, would go on to voice Shadow the motherfucking Hedgehog. Mona Marshall, Kite, voiced Izzy from Digimon. Balmung is voiced by Doug Erholt, who also voices Squall in Kingdom Hearts. Fitting, really. Also, Pyros is voiced by Dan Norris, who voiced Cosmo in The Fairly Odd Parents. I don't know how to feel about that one. Anyways, we go to Pyros' dungeon with Mistral along for the ride, and here's where the party dynamics really start to shine. Each party member in the game belongs to one of 6 available classes within the world. In our current party, Kite is a Twin Blade, a balanced class best described as a jack of all trades, master of none, while Black Rose is a Heavy Blade, a high attack, low defense kind of class, and Mistral is a Wave Master, basically a glass cannon mage with healing capabilities. Aside from these 3, there's also Blade Masters, who have excellent physical attack and a relatively fast attack speed, Heavy Axemen, who have extremely high physical attack and HP but suffer from all-around slowness, and Long Arms, who have similar stats to Twin Blades but have lower magic and higher physical attack and range. As the game goes on and you start tackling some of the harder dungeons, party composition will begin to matter quite a bit. The fact that Kite is the jack of all trades gives you flexibility for your 3-party team. Do you take the role of support and bring in 2 heavy hitters, or do you focus on offense yourself and bring a Wave Master to fill in the role of healer? It's not mind-bending tactics by any means, but it's significant enough to make decision making before entering a dungeon just a little bit more interesting. Anyways, we reach the end of the dungeon and Pyros thanks us for our help, gives us his member address and leaves, and we go back to town and log out as we receive a new email. CC Corporation informs us we've been selected as a lucky winner for their 1-year anniversary campaign, and we should go to a shop in town to claim a power-up. When we do, we are given the Book of Law. When we try to use it, however, the game says installation error, character data overwrite is forbidden. If you talk to the shopkeeper again, he just repeats his usual dialogue, and Kite makes no comment on the event. Weird. Something to keep in mind for later. Short after, we get an email from Mia, the strange cat girl from earlier. She says our bracelet can do a lot more than we think, and to meet her alone in Delta, boundless corrupted fort walls. So we go alone.
Hi, I've been waiting for you. Actually, I'm also interested in your bracelet. Thanks for coming. I'm at the lowest level of the dungeon. You can make it here, can't you?
How do you know about data drain?
Well, it's hard to say.
Just like before, we find ourselves in an infected zone, except this one seems worse than the previous one. The fact it's nighttime and there's no music sets the tone. It's already a little bit worrying having to go into a dungeon alone. The type and amount of enemies you fight doesn't change if you're going solo, so you really have to be on your toes. As we enter the dungeon, the music sounds slightly off-key. As we traverse it, Mia gives us a few bits of strange dialogue.
So, what do you think? Do you think the area is really corrupted? The truth is, for something to be born, something must break. The same applies to humans. Do you understand what I mean? You came here to find the secret of the bracelet, but you don't quite trust me. The world does not consist of only ones and zeros. It allows the existence of areas between yes and no. Humans are interesting, aren't they?
I can't tell if Mia's implying she's not human or if she's just going through her edgy teenage phase. Once we reach the bottom of the dungeon, we fight an infected enemy and data drain him. Mia and Elk show up and tell us this is the first time she's seen the data drain and just wanted to see the extent of our powers. She offers us to teach us gate hacking, basically a way to bypass protective barriers to dungeons put in place by game admins. We return to town with Mia and Elk. add them to our party, and proceed to the gate hacking tutorial. Remember those virus cores you get from data draining enemies? Well, gate hacking is what we use them for. Basically, protective barriers placed in areas can be removed by inserting the right types and amounts of virus cores. Mia specifically mentions that once we hack a gate, that area will be open to anyone, not just us. When we hack the gate, we get a sick cutscene.
There must be some kind of secret in these protected areas. That's why they lock it, right?
Combat ramps up a little here. We find a new type of enemy, the Mimic, that has a nasty ability, inflicting confusion. This ailment is a bitch. You lose control of your character and attack whatever is closest to you. It's absolutely devastating, since characters hit you just as hard as they hit enemies, except player characters don't have nearly as much health. You die real quick. I mean, look at this. This is the very first time I've died in the game, and the one responsible was my own party member. Since I was also confused, all I could do was literally watch. Also, check it out. When you die, you become a ghost. Clearly inspired by Ultima Online given the release of the game, but more widely known as a mechanic from WoW. Neat. At the end of the dungeon, we find another infected enemy. After beating him, Kai tells Mia everything that happened so far, including Orca falling comatose. Mia straight up says she does not give a shit about what happened in the past. Damn, what the hell? But is interested in what we're going to do with the bracelet in the future. Mia then logs off while ignoring Elk as he calls out to her. Elk sighs, looks at us in silence, and logs off too. He's clearly wary of us, and he's not thrilled that Mia's giving kind attention. We leave as well. At this point, it's clear what the flow of the game is like, and I'm really into it. You go to Root Town, your home base. Nice music plays, people running around. You trade stuff, improve your equipment, and manage your inventory. You then call your friends, add them to the party, go to a dungeon, explore and get treasure and advance the story in some way. You go back to town, get a new email alert, log out, check the world's message board, then log out of the world entirely and back to your desktop to check your messages. Sometimes they're just your friends telling you about themselves, their lives, and asking about yours. You reply to them in turn, which also gives us a small peek at who Kite is. Maybe you also get a weird or mysterious email every now and then. You then go back in and log into the world and repeat. It might sound simple, and that's because it is, but there's something about this gameplay loop that makes it quite engaging. Anyways, we checked the message board to find an interesting new thread. People were talking about the beta test of the world. It was supposed to run for 6 months, but it got cut short to 3. The guys mentioned a rumor of someone dying during the test. We'll have to keep an eye on this thread as it develops. Back in the world, we run into Balmung. He asks Kite if he knows anything about Orca, who he hasn't been able to contact. He then warns us that the bracelet's power is the same as the one that placed Orca into a coma.
Yeah, I know. I don't have to be reminded of it.
You don't have time to get depressed.
Who are you?
A friend, or perhaps a foe. A meddler with a warning.
You sent that email? Helba?
That aside, I must warn you, beware of Leos.
Leos?
Leos is on the side of the system. With that bracelet, you'll be treated as a virus. Also, you need this. thinking, how does she know, right? It's not that hard to imagine. Like I said, someone is always watching you.
Hold on. Why are you helping me?
Helping you? Who knows? You might be the one helping me. Take care, little boy.
She's still a little bit of a mystery. It seems she's on our side, helping us when we need it most and giving us some breadcrumbs here and there. By why not just help us outright? Also, remember how we got this Book of Law thing from a sketchy contest? An item that is supposed to power us up, but as soon as we tried to use it, we were warned about how character data override is forbidden. Well, if Leos is part of the system, could that have been a trap set up by him? It's all but speculation at this point, but we're probably onto something. Going back to the message board, we read a thread about a rare weapon called the Spiral Edge, along with the keywords of the dungeon to get it. We go there and find what will become a recurring enemy type that is just plain annoying. It's a tanky statue that, whenever you kill enemies, revives them with full health. Well, not disastrous given we're fighting weak enemies here. I can't help but think what a nightmare it would be if the enemies that come along with the statue were stronger. That would mean we would have to tank a whole lot of damage while we kill the statue before actually going for the heavy hitters. Again, the game is slowly but surely ramping up the difficulty. Once inside the dungeon, we meet Natsume, who is also looking for the Spiral Edge. Once at the bottom, we get the Spiral Edge from the dungeon's treasure and give it to her, who gives us her member address in return. One more party member on board. We log out to find a few new message board posts. One is about a new sighting of the ghost girl in Theta Quiet Eternal White Devil. Wait a minute, Theta? That's new. Guess we're going to a new server. We also find a small update about the beta version of the world. Apparently, the testing was cut short from 6 to 3 months because the main programmer went MIA. Again, let's just keep this thread in mind for later. Finally, we find a worrying new thread given what we know. It's titled Missing, with the OP being someone called Meg. She's trying to contact someone called Alf, and they're worried since they haven't seen him in a while. A little eerie. Let's keep an eye on this thread as well. Before going back into the world, we check our email to find a new message from the ghost girl? You can kind of make out the last couple lines. Better of the bracelet, help me, before there are any more casualties. Now, if there's an exciting moment in JRPGs and MMOs, it's this: reaching a new town. Inside the world, we can now switch servers to Theta and get access to a new root town, Dun Lorig, the Highland City. Perched atop soaring rock spirals, the town sits just high enough to pierce the cloud line, giving us beautiful vistas in a nice light mist. Windmills spin on buildings, kites and balloons swing in the breeze. Wooden, rough bridges connect the different rock segments, giving the town a really rustic feel. Calm, soothing music sets the mood. It's a nice change of pace from Mak Anu. We also have the misfortune of meeting Grunties for the first time.
Like, my name is Lottle the Stray Grunty?
We'll visit these weirdos later. For now, Black Rose is waiting for us to visit Theta, Quiet Eternal White Devil, the place with the sightings of the ghost girl. So we head there. We find ourselves once again in a heavily infected zone, this time on a snowy field. Right away, a subdued and somewhat ominous tune starts playing. It sets the tone. And here's when I notice something the game's been doing from the very first dungeon. The music tracks, while exploring, shifts seamlessly into combat and back. But here, with the tension already built into the zone's atmosphere, you really notice it. Check it out. Kinda reminds me of Nier Automata, which does basically the same thing. I'm legit impressed by this given how old the game is. Once inside the dungeon, we face a new status ailment, sleep. It's brutal. It's worse than the confusion inflicted by mimics. If your whole party is asleep, you're basically done. There's a plant enemy that just keeps putting everyone to sleep, and if anyone wakes up, they put them right back in about 2 seconds. I mean, just take a look. Thankfully, these enemies are not exactly heavy hitters, so we managed to deal with it. Now, we reached the bottom level of the dungeon and all we find is a dead end. Wait, a dead end? That's not right. See, every dungeon we've visited, at the very bottom, even when infected, ends with the god statue room where we get the dungeon's treasure. This one just ends in a corridor with a wall. Well, with no sightings of the ghost girl or the monster that was chasing her, we'll leave this mystery for now. Leaving the dungeon, we head back to Monk Anu and see Mia and Elk talking. Elk seems to be jealous of Kite, given how much interest Mia has shown in him. Elk declares he likes her and Mia reacts strangely.
What? What's this? I feel strange.
Now, I can't tell if this is just a tropey anime bit, where the oblivious teenager does not know what love feels like, or if we're supposed to read a little bit more into this, deducing that Mia is perhaps not entirely human. But really at this point it could be either or. Elk then approaches Kite and asks him if he can come with him to an area that might be infected. When we get there, Elk admits he lied. He offers every item he has in exchange for our bracelet. However, almost immediately, the area starts showing signs of infection. Kite suggests we go to the bottom of the dungeon to find out if there are any clues as to what might be happening. Now, this dungeon can be a little bit scary for 2 reasons. The first is that we are a 2-man party. Elk, being a wave master, can be a pretty hard hitter, but he's also very squishy. We are already 1 party member short, and remember, enemy encounters don't really scale up or down based on your party composition. They are always the same. This means that having less than 3 party members is a significant debuff. Second, in this dungeon we run into the dreaded fast as fuck mage enemy type I mentioned way back. These shitheads are a pain in the ass for 2 reasons. First, they run faster than freaking Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, look at them. Second, they cast really hard-hitting spells. Now, why is this particular combination so bad? Well, it just so happens that when an enemy starts casting a spell on you, you freeze in place. This leads to the following pattern. The enemy runs away from you and you can't catch up. They stop and cast a spell on you, which also makes you stop until the animation and damage is done. Then you can move, but by that time, the enemy has also started moving, and remember, they are faster than you. Holy shit. Also, I really need to emphasize just how much damage their spells do. Just look at this. These little shits suck. Hard. Anyway, at the end of the dungeon we find Mia. She's next to an enemy portal and an infected enemy shows up. This is the first kinda tough fight. It's not too bad, but the snake has a crap ton of health and it can hit pretty hard. After beating it, Elk and Mia reunite. She says she was looking for Elk and admits she misses him when he's not around. They leave together without even acknowledging Kite. Kite just hits us with a and leaves, realizing the true pain of third wheels. We log out and check the message board. We find 3 noteworthy threads. First, a guy called Sanjuro is looking for a Kotetsu sword, and someone provides the keywords for the area where to find it. Second, we find a Ms. Gardenia fan club thread, where a bunch of people are gushing over someone named, you guessed it, Gardenia. Someone then proceeds to rage bait them and they fall for it, and anyway, bottom line is, the Gardenia fans want to get together in an area, so we'll be paying them a visit. Last but not least, in a thread about the new Neurogoggle FMD, basically this world's newest version of the MetaQuest, we see someone mention seizures and how the new goggles could be just as bad as something called the Deadly Flash. Again, let's just keep this in mind for later. Next, we head to the dungeon where the Kotetsu sword is. There, we meet Zanjiro, the poster from the message board. And just like Natsume's side quest, we reach the end of the dungeon, find the Kotetsu sword, give it to Sanjuro, and we get his member address. Plus 1 party member. Next up, we go to the zone where the Gardenia fan club arranged to meet up, and we find a bunch of players at the entrance of the dungeon.
You look pretty tough. Please give this.
No, I don't want it.
It's not for you. Please be careful with it, and don't you dare throw it away.
We are now reluctantly tasked with delivering this letter to Gardenia. As we traverse the dungeon, we meet her a few times, but she evades us thinking we belong to her fan club. At the very end, we manage to convince her to take the letter, as long as we join her whenever she calls for us, and if we stop calling her miss. She then leaves the dungeon via an item. The groupies catch up and then run after Gardenia back to Root Town. Just an all-around nightmarish sequence of events, but at least we got her member address out of it. Taking a little break from dungeon crawling, we log out to check the message board and find a continuation of the world's beta version thread. In it, we find that a player self-deleted during the test period, but apparently it had nothing to do with the game. They also say the beta was called Fragment, which had different designs but was essentially the same game as the current one. I'm not convinced this death is unrelated to the game, but that's all we get for now. In a different thread, we're starting to see conversations about a virus in the world, after people having complained about weird problems in-game. Checking an email from Black Rose, we realize something shocking. Remember that one dungeon, Theta, Quiet Eternal White Devil, that just had a dead end at the very bottom? Well, turns out that Black Rose contacted the person that wrote the original post in the message board with those keywords, and guess what? Turns out the original message was edited by someone. The actual keywords were Theta, Cursed, Despaired, Paradise. However, when we try to go there, we realize it's a protected area and...
I don't have enough virus cores.
Maybe the keywords for this place were on the original message, but someone modified it.
My message was also...
It got deleted, right? I'm not sure what's going on, but I just have a bad feeling.
With not much else to do though, we decide to log out.
Yeah?
After finding no new clues in our email or on the message board, we log back in to find Mistral in a little bit of a situation. Just see for yourself.
Give me a break. This is a super rare item. 9,999 GP. That's my final offer.
Is there a loan program available?
With a high interest rate, yeah.
Spare me from death hell!
Dead hell. That's an awful sounding word.
Beyond awful.
Well then, that's the end of the negotiation.
How long have you been watching me?
From when you asked about the loan.
Well, I'm the type that just has to collect every single item. That's why I get all emotional about it.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna go for a walk and calm down.
Anyways, Mistral makes the wise decision of just taking a walk to calm down and leaves. The scammer named Aperon now tries to pawn off a so-called Book of Iron on us, a power-up item that supposedly nullifies an attack from an enemy at a high percentage. After Kite refuses multiple times, the guy just gives it to us for free. Also, Mistral shows up again after her walk and...
Where did that guy go?
He's gone.
Oh, I guess I was too late. I just sold everything I don't need. Oh, that reminds me. I overheard something over at the weapon shop. Theta, collapse momentary spiral. They say it's really dangerous. Let's go together. I want to see you do that skill again. Oh, come on. Let's go.
Oh, all right.
Anyway, we get some new keywords, so we'll be checking those out next. However, I am curious about this Book of Iron, so let's just... Of course it doesn't work. Curiously enough though, we get the same message as the one we got before when using the Book of Law, the supposed power-up item we won from an official contest. So an item from a hacker apparently tried to override our character in the same way that the item given to us by the system did. Now Helba's warning is starting to make sense. Next up, we head for the dungeon Mistral told us about, and indeed, it is infected. As we enter the dungeon...
Wow, that's a pretty cool effect they put out for this stage.
It's clear Kite is fed up with her. At the end of the dungeon, we fight another infected boss, data drain him, and get the virus core we needed to explore that one area with Black Rose. Right after, we get this little gold nugget of a conversation.
That's a nice bracelet. Where did you get that? I want one too. Wow, I didn't know they had an event like that.
No, it wasn't an event.
Oh no, it started raining. I have to bring in the laundry. Sorry, I've gotta go.
Now that is the most depressed I give up on humanity sigh I've heard in a long time. Thanks, Mistral. Speaking of Mistral, this might be a good time to take a step back and look at our party members because by now we've met everyone. Black Rose, Mistral, Mia, Elk, Pyros, Natsume, Sanjuro, Gardenia, and the game introduces who these characters are not just via their small speech bubbles during dungeons and main quest cutscenes, but via emails you receive throughout the game. What governs these emails is the affection system, something I discovered through the Ryu books. All your party members have affection towards Kite, measured in a number between 0 and 250. You can earn affection in two ways: giving them gifts in the form of items and equipment, and, this is the interesting part, how you respond to their emails. Each character has multiple email chains that unlock at different affection thresholds: 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, and up to 200. Get a response right, and the chain continues and you get affection points. Get it wrong, and the chain ends there. It's a simple but effective system that makes you actually care about these virtual friends as you get to know who they are behind their in-game character. Let me show you. Black Rose starts off as distant. Her first email is her checking if you're just gonna sit around and get fat playing games. But as you progress through her chain, you learn she's a sophomore on the school's varsity team, the only sophomore on varsity. She's competitive, she's got goals like being center court at Wimbledon. By the end, she starts calling you partner. It's genuinely sweet considering where we started. Mistral is a whole vibe. She's into cooking and comes off as relatively competent and savvy, despite her very first email saying she burnt an apple pie. This is opposite to how she's shown in-game, as a chaos gremlin with a touch of clumsiness. She talks about cooking beef stew and her shopping habits in grocery stores. She sounds significantly more adult than some of the other characters. Pyrus is an eccentric, overly dedicated MMO role player. He talks about having the heart of a boy and being dedicated to graphics. There's a running theme in his emails where he hints he's actually a game developer. He drops lines like, "There's even a saying, you don't need a knife to kill off a game maker, just call it crap," and then refuses to answer any question about his personal life. "It's much cooler if it's a mystery, ha 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 ha." I find Pyrus a little annoying at first, but he kinda grows on you. He's just a guy that's way into role-playing via the MMO. Hard to truly hate him. Natsume started playing the world to change herself. She's a 9th grader and a year older than Kite, a librarian at her school, and she's into books. Her dream is to fill a bookshelf with her favorite ones. She seems soft and introspective, wanting to grow past her implied insecurities. It's hard not to root for her. Sanjuro is named after the character Kuwabatake Sanjuro from the film classic Yojimbo. He loves Mifune, he has an action figure of him, and he's really into Japanese culture. His chain ends with him learning what a tokuri is and being like, Japanese is very difficult, the obvious implication being that he's a foreigner, despite his in-game look. Basically a mega weeb. Gardenia is something else. Her first email just says, "I like raw food." And then when you ask what, she goes, "Octopus." And then it gets weird. She loves the texture, sweet sea cucumbers, anything chewy. "I especially love the suction cups," she says. Despite her indecipherable chain of emails, I guess she still took the time to reach out and... Okay, honestly, I have no read on Gardenia yet, but hey, at least I appreciate the silly conversations. Now, you've probably noticed I haven't mentioned Elk or Mia. Well, the thing is, they never send any emails apart from a few informative ones linked with main story stuff. They effectively don't have any affection content, despite being story-critical characters. They don't email you about their day or ask about yours. It's a deliberate distinction. The affection system is for party members who feel like friends, not the ones who feel like walking, talking secrets. We'll see if that remains the case in the future, but for now, it's about time we head to that protected area with Black Rose.
Well, this is different.
We head to Theta, Cursed Despaired Paradise. Once we enter, we realize the zone is particularly fucked up by the infection. Fighting our way to the bottom of the dungeon, instead of a god statue room, we get... this.
What the?
And so, I shall name her Aura. Without you, she would not exist. The shining girl, entrust her with our will. Our future is in her hands. She is our...
What is this?
I don't know, but Aura is probably that girl.
You mean the girl who gave you the bracelet?
Yes, I just think it's her.
Look! There's more over here!
Shunning the field, broken by wave. The shadowed girl whispers, "Surely I will return." Alas, the truth unbeknownst, awaiting her at journey's end. Eternal mourning for her land.
Well, that doesn't make any sense either.
Yeah.
There's a few interesting details I noticed here that might be worth remembering for the future. First, the bit of dialogue talking about Aura seems to be narrated by different people, and we get a specific name, Harold. Second, the Epitaph 00 poem, which might be referring to the Epitaph of Twilight, is narrated by someone who sounds very similar to Helba. Third, the poem references a shadowed girl, but Aura is referred to as a shining girl in Harold's note, so these two notes might not be referring to the same person. Finally, the poem talks about a wave breaking a field. I find this interesting mostly because the word wave is capitalized. Like I said at the beginning, I haven't played any of the games that follow, so I'm not even sure if making note of these things will pay off later. We'll see. We find some interesting updates on some of the message board threads we've been keeping track of. First, remember the thread called Missing, where someone is trying to reach out to a guy named Alf? Well, we get a few more posts about Alf here. Someone suggests he just got bored and stopped playing the game, but then the OP says Alf had found an interesting area recently and had been exploring it, meaning it couldn't be that. When asked why the OP didn't go to that area, she says she tried but it was protected. No mention of keywords for now though, so let's keep an eye on the thread. Next, remember the mention of deadly flash in reference to the rumors of seizures caused by the new VR goggles? Well, we finally get an explanation for why that is. Apparently, it was a computer virus that spread from Japan in 2003. It made computer screens flicker really fast, affecting the pituitary gland and resulting in consciousness disorders. It affected several 100 million people, with 7 of them dying. The perpetrator was caught and given the death penalty, but has not been put to death yet, since the Japanese Congress is going to revise the network safety law, which the guy violated. Holy shit. I mean, I don't know where this particular story thread is going or if it's just world building, but this is really interesting stuff. I also agree with the guy in the thread saying, who would have thought a thread about neurogoggles would end up here? Going back to our desktop, a particular piece of news is up titled Induced Coma with Online Game. The article mentions a rumor going around about people falling into comas when playing, you guessed it, The World. The developers obviously deny the allegations. Right after, we get an email from Black Rose mentioning she's going to look into the thread titled Missing we talked about earlier. It feels like things are escalating. Back on the message board, we find someone looking to pass along an item to Orca, in the very first zone he originally took us to. We meet up and explain the situation. The contact mentions that our friend was investigating something unknown lurking within the world, and points us towards a dungeon where Linda, another friend of his, might have answers. A stranger then hands over a gift from Orca he wanted to give us before the coma incident, a permanent stat boost consumable. Kite hits us with a sad ... before leaving. We head to the new dungeon to find Linda at the bottom. She confirms what Orca was after.
Bob told me about you. It's about the rumor, right? The world is not just an online game. There's something with some other purpose lurking inside it.
Some other purpose?
I don't know. After all, it's just a rumor. And I'm not sure if it even exists. But Orca and Balmung were working together to find the truth about it.
Orca and Balmung.
She fills us in on some details about Orca and Balmung. They weren't just random high-level players. They were the high-level players, the most powerful party in the world, known as descendants of Fianna. Linda warns us to leave the rumor alone, but...
But I can't do that. I am Orca's friend.
I see. So that's your reason. In that case, check out Delta, Lonely Silent Great Seal. Orca told me he found a strange room in that area. May the grace of the Twilight Dragon be with you.
Back in Root Town, we try to enter the area where Orca found a strange room, but it's protected. We have enough virus cores though, so we push through and find ourselves in another infected dungeon. When we reach the bottom, we find ourselves in another wide room. This one has a chair, half of it erased, like someone used a spherical eraser tool on reality. Kite finds the epitaph ? Key item. Whatever happened here, someone or something really didn't want any trace of it left behind. When we leave the area, I try to use the epitaph ? Key item, but it's illegible. Back in our desktop, Black Rose emails us. Remember how she said she was gonna look into the thread about a dude named Alf going missing? Well, she's managed to contact his friend, Meg, and arranged a meeting in an area. We have no other lead, so we go back in the world, invite Black Rose to our party, and head there immediately. At the bottom of the dungeon, we witness something that confirms this is a full-blown conspiracy. We find Meg, who seems to be with a dude that looks exactly like the item vendors in town. When he notices us, he looks out without saying a word. Meg immediately gets cold feet about telling us the area her friend disappeared in. She says she just posted the keywords on the message board, but that they're dangerous, apologizes, and then leaves. We log out and check the message board. The keywords for Meg are gone, deleted entirely. Another dead end with no keywords or answers except for one. It's clear who the guy in green is, and just what is happening here, at least on the surface. Looking at some of the threads we've been keeping track of, we find some interesting, albeit unrelated information. We find there's a new post in the thread where Orca's friend said he had an item for him, talking about Orca and Balmung. They say these two cleared something called the One Sin, some kind of in-game event, and that's how they got their titles. Balmung of the Azure Sky and Orca of the Azure Sea. Finally, in a thread about Ultimate, the OS that we use in our desktop, someone mentions a rumor about a new OS being developed by them, and that it's the first since the Twilight of the New Gods. Then someone asks if that has something to do with the Nibelung's ring, Wagner and Siegfried. This seems like a direct reference to Richard Wagner's fourth and final opera in the Ring of the Nibelung cycle, where the Age of Gods comes to an end. Now, as far as I know, this world is very much supposed to be grounded in reality, at least outside the MMO. That means that the Twilight of the New Gods probably refers to something else. The thread ends here, however, so we'll just have to remember this for later. Next, we log out and check the news. There's a story about two high school kids found unconscious in their club room. One of them woke up, but the other is in a coma at the hospital. No drugs in their system either. Things really are starting to get out of CC Corp's hands. Next, we check our email and Black Rose confirms we're on the same page. There's definitely a conspiracy here. Also, this is where it hit me a little late, but Black Rose seems weirdly invested into all this. We've told our story to some of our other party members, but she has been the only one that has actively participated looking into the Ghost Girl appearances, tracking down leads, and discussing next steps with us. I mean, she clearly sympathized with our story, but maybe there's more to it. The next email is from Aura, the Ghost Girl, and it's once again garbled to hell. But we can kinda make out what she's saying. I can't run away anymore. If something catches me. And then she repeats, there's still time, over and over. Doesn't sound good. The final email is from Helba. She sends us the deleted message from the message board, the one from Meg. The OG message said elves saw a girl and a guy with a red wand playing tag in the area Theta, Chosen Hopeless Nothingness. The OP then received an email from Alf's family saying he fell into a coma while playing the game. Helba mentions that the data volume is increasing in this area. While we've gotten some red herrings before, this one seems very, very legit. If we're lucky, both Aura and the monster will be there. Theta, Chosen Hopeless Nothingness. That's where we need to go.
Where are you going without me?
It might be there. The bastard that got Yasuhiko.
So you're gonna defeat it?
I don't know if I'm strong enough to do it.
You have to. I'm going with you. Don't even try to stop me.
If it isn't obvious with all the hinting the game has made, Theta, Chosen Hopeless Nothingness is the final zone of the game. Figuring out as much, we make our preparations, buying plenty of healing and buff items before heading out. Our final party will be two heavy hitters, Black Rose and Sanjuro, with Kite acting as support. This is it, the final zone. Time to see what it has in store for us.
The bracelet. It's shining.
Now let me tell you, this dungeon is no joke. It's the longest story dungeon in the game, by far, and the enemies here represent a significant difficulty spike compared to everything else we've seen before. The Moo Guardian, this towering caster dude, is an absolute beast. It's basically a fast as hell caster type with one exception. He's tanky as hell. You can't just brute force your way through him like with other casters we've faced. The only reasonable way to deal with it is via skills that exploit his elemental weaknesses. To top it all off, enemy groups also include the dudes that revive enemies. Remember how I said it would suck if these dudes were paired with hard hitters, since we have to focus on them first while we tank damage from the rest? Well, here we are. Not gonna lie, I like the game going as hard as it does here. It really feels like the final stretch. We find our way through 5 floors of tough encounters, and then we reach the end to find the ominous purple flame by the door. We're about to face whatever has been haunting Aura this whole time, and will put our friend into a coma. Knowing that, I use every essential buff available to us to make sure we are absolutely ready. We walk through the door to find ourselves back at that strange, rocky area from the beginning of the game. The same place where Orca was data drained, where everything went wrong. And there she is, Aura, the ghost girl we've been chasing since the beginning. But it's too late. And so begins the fight. And holy shit, is this unlike anything we've faced before. Remember how I said those bosses we just fought earlier, the infected enemies with infinite HP, weren't real bosses? They were just regular enemies who took longer to kill. Well, this is an actual boss fight. Scathe has actual mechanics, special attacks, the whole deal. Just like any other infected enemy, Scathe starts with infinite HP. You can't kill him until you data drain him. But, unlike the others, he hits like a truck. His normal physical attacks do around 260 damage. My characters have between 567 and 630 HP. That means that a couple of hits from this guy and someone's dead. He also has a ground smash AoE that hits everyone for around 210 damage. But then, he pulls out Judgment. The screen goes dark, the word Judgment appears at the top. Ice surrounds each party member, encasing them before violently shattering. The presentation for attacks here is just way beyond what we've seen before. It's really cool and intimidating. And then there's his data drain, the same attack he used on Orca and Aura. A single target attack that hits for around 200 HP. Most importantly, however, it inflicts every status ailment at once. Charm, slow, poison, paralysis, sleep, confusion, and one I didn't even recognize. It's terrifying on paper, but in practice, you can cure most of it with the right items. The real problem is when he data drains Kite, because then you're standing there paralyzed, hoping your party members remember to use both a restorative and an antidote on you. And, wouldn't you know it, the very first data drain he uses is on Kite. I'm standing there paralyzed while my party figures out the antidote situation and Scythe uses Judgment again. Sanjuro dies. I then regain control, resurrect Sanjuro, and we keep fighting. This is what I'm talking about though. This fight is frantic. I act as the team's medic, spamming potions and restoratives and antidotes non-stop. We're in survival mode the entire time. After what feels like forever, I finally get the chance to data drain Scathe. We get a virus core and Scathe transforms. He becomes this tiny, featureless version of himself. And now, finally, he has finite HP, 4500. Even in this form, he's still a little tough, but way more manageable. Other enemies, when data drained, just stand there and get one-shot. Not Scathe though. He can still hit hard with his AoE, around 300 damage now, and inflict sleep. But he's way less aggressive. At some point he just stands there, letting us wail on him. And then...
Kubia.
We had come so far, but we knew so little. And now, the true battle was about to begin.
Before I wrap up my thoughts on the game, let's talk about some of the extra stuff the game has to offer, because there's more than just the main story here. First, let's start with the post-game emails. Once you hit 200 affection with each character, you get one final message after beating the game. Most are exactly what you'd expect. Black Rose staying true to form with a simple "I'm counting on you" partner. Natsume being soft and earnest. Gardenia being, well, Gardenia. But there's Mistral and Pyros. Mistral pivots to unsolicited life advice about cooking, and Pyros does the same thing with his bizarre food combinations. For a game that doesn't have a lot of character interactions, at least not in the amounts you get in modern JRPGs, I find it surprising that I'm kinda invested in these characters, their silly quirks and stories. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of them in the next games. Now, remember Grunties from the Dunlorg Root Town? These fucking weirdos?
Like, my name is Loddle, the stray grunty?
Well, there's actually a Grunty raising minigame. You find Grunty food scattered throughout the dungeons, feed them to a child Grunty at the ranch, and based on what you feed it, you get a different adult form. Once you raise the first one, you get the Grunty food, which lets you summon and ride Grunty around fields. And the best part, you can't get into random encounters while riding. It's a nice little convenience. Apparently there are 3 types, but I only got one, the Noble Grunty, which talks in this ridiculous, pretentious voice.
Oh, mon ami! Do you need me?
The other 2 are apparently the Iron Grunty and the Poison Grunty, but I never got them myself. Next, we have Goblin Tag, a message board quest chain that runs throughout the whole game. A goblin named Stahani posts on the board early on a thread called Let's Play Tag, challenging you to finding and beating him. You defeat him and he drops a piece of equipment. Then another goblin posts, and then another. Each one is higher level and harder than the last, and all of them drop a piece of equipment from the goblin set. There are 5 goblins in total: Stahani, Jonue, Zion, Albert, and finally Martina. Martina only appears after you beat the game, and she's no joke. She uses regeneration spells and is really fast and just an overall pain in the ass. Once you beat all 5 and equip all the pieces you've collected, you get the Summon Goblin skill. It summons a big yellow goblin that does a decent amount of damage. It's more of a novelty than a serious combat option, but it's a cool reward for seeing the chain through. Now, the main event after beating the game is the post-game dungeon. Throughout the game, as you explore some of the field dungeons, sometimes you catch a glimpse of a giant shadow moving around. It's hard to see what it is exactly since you can't point your camera towards the sky. If you get lucky though, you can catch a glimpse of it like I did here. It's a giant human figure flying through the skies. Well, it turns out this dungeon takes place on one of the side airships accompanying it. The entrance is stunning. Nothing else in the game looks like it. otherworldly music, huge airship floating in the sky. It's genuinely beautiful. Inside though, pretty much the same fleshy dungeon aesthetic we've seen before. The enemies are tough. Sometimes you get 3 Moo Guardians at once, which is brutal, but the dungeon is short, only 2 floors. The last room of the dungeon is unique, where fleshy surfaces give way to a more machine-like aesthetic. A single enemy portal sits in the back of the room, spawning the Parasite Dragon, a unique enemy with 9,999 health. So what did I do? I rushed in head first, of course. Figured it couldn't be too bad, right? I got humbled real quick. After being revived, I hung back and let my party do the heavy lifting while I focused on keeping everyone alive, just like with Scathe. The dragon hits hard. My party members get deleted whenever his 1-2 combo connects. He also has an AoE that does massive damage too. My job was basically spamming healing items and praying. As long as I had supplies, we were fine. It wasn't mechanically hard, just a little demanding. Once you data drain it, you get a pair of rare twin blades for Kite. Pretty sick reward. Finally, and what has me more than a little excited, is the save transfer mechanic. After beating the game, you're given the option to create a clear save. From what I can tell, I'll be able to use the save in the next game to carry over my progress from here, including items and experience. It's not the first time it's ever been done, nor is it the first time I've played a game that allowed you to transfer progress from prequel to sequel, but I do think it's rare enough to be a treat whenever you do find a game that does it. It's a little strange to play this game so many years later. Going into it, I was worried this would be one of those situations where a piece of media you loved as a kid just doesn't hold up when you revisit it as an adult. Well, I'm happy to say that I genuinely enjoyed my time with this first part. When I was younger, my appreciation was mostly driven by the story and the novelty of the online setting. Now though, my perspective has shifted. Don't get me wrong, I still love the narrative hooks and I'm invested in what comes next, but at the risk of sounding a bit ambiguous, what I appreciated most this time around was the vibe. There is a distinct feel to this game that I don't think can be replicated in modern times. What felt entirely normal back in 2002 now feels completely unique. On the surface, it bleeds early 2000s presentation, dramatic camera work and terminally nostalgic anime dubbing included. But beneath that is the content itself. A 2002 vision of what technology, gaming, and society would be like by 2010. There's a fascinating irony in visiting this world today. It's a time capsule of a future that already has come and gone in the real world, leaving us to compare their speculative fiction with our own very different reality. And yet, it's amazing how well the game nails its immersion. Now, I'm not saying Infection perfectly replicates a true MMO. The chaotic social dynamics and emergent gameplay of the genre are things a single-player game simply can't simulate, even today with massive budgets and modern tech. But Dot Hack captures the illusion of it perfectly. Simply calling up your crew, trading items with strangers, and watching the town buzz with players creates a brilliant sense of community. Then there's the routine, signing out of the game, checking the community forums, jumping back to your fictional desktop to read emails from friends, or just passing time with changing wallpapers and listening to unlocked songs. It sounds incredibly simple in a vacuum, but when presented all together, the experience becomes much greater than the sum of its parts. It all coexists to make you feel like you aren't just playing a simulation of an MMO. It makes the world feel like it has actual weight, like it exists just beyond your screen. It's a unique trick, and while I couldn't consciously articulate that as a kid, I know it left a mark on me given how much nostalgia I still hold for this universe. I went to see if this game held up, but I ended up completely caught in the fiction. By the end of Infection, I wasn't just playing a retro RPG, I was peeking into an alternate timeline where the world actually existed. I still can't say if an MMO can truly be more than a game, but I'm officially hooked on the mystery. I'm not sure if I'll make a video on the next few games, since from what I know they are all similar in terms of gameplay and structure, and I don't know it's worth doing for the story alone. If you're one of the possibly 10 people that will watch this video all the way through, let me know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in seeing. For now though, thank you for watching, and I hope you'll come along for whatever I play next. See you there. Bye.